Okay, go back over there, and I'm just
Sure.
gonna get you in frame real quick.
Here, I'll leave these glasses. So, where do you want me? Right here?
Right there. Yep. All right, so we're streaming live, but it'll get chopped up and stuff.
Sure.
Hey everybody, we're back. This is Morales. I'm here with Louis Feinberg, and we've been I don't know about 2.5 hours into the art show now. Everybody's having a great time looking at the beautiful art. A lot of great stories being told out on the floor. I've been trying to kind of find a time where me and you can finally shake hands.
Right.
It's been a while here. But Louis, we talked about the art show probably about a month ago. And we did a little over that. We were introduced to
So we're around the holidays.
yeah, you're right. We were introduced from a good friend, both of ours, Dr. Yasser Ghazi, transplant nephrologist, right? And he says, hey, I need you to meet Louis. I was introduced to what I've seen the acronym before, but actually didn't know much about, as you could probably tell when you first told me about it. The UKRO, which stands for the University Kidney Research Organization. It's at USC, is that correct?
We're affiliated with USC. We are an independent 501c3, a nonprofit, but all of the funding that we have raised right now is going to a specific project at USC and to the Kidney Research Center that we helped to build.
Jonathan, would you mind shut this door for us, please?
Yeah, of course.
So Louis, I read through the story on the website. Dr. Garcia also kind of mentioned a little bit of the background. You shared a more in-depth insight to how UKRO started and the work that you're currently working on. Can you tell us a little bit about, kind of the high level? How did you start?
Sure, that's a whole big story.
Yeah.
But we basically started after my dad got sick with a kidney disease that had no known cure or cause. Still is a prominent entertainment lawyer. He was in France and he suddenly got quite ill. He ended up blowing up to 30 pounds of water weight, was diagnosed with something called minimal change disease, and then it became ultimately FSGS, which is another type of, it's a rare kidney disease, but it landed him on dialysis.
Right.
And basically he ended up with end-stage renal disease. He was on dialysis for 5.5 years. And then got a transplant, right just as everything was kind of crashing. The morbidity rates on dialysis are, they were at that time worse. It was about 7 years, and now it's about 10. And he was not doing well anymore, and got very, very fortunate, and got a transplant, and basically had a new lease on life. But during his illness, he kind of said, hey, what's going on with research? Why? At that time, it was the millennium, which I don't know. I mean, some of us are older. I remember the millennium. It's like anything is possible, and he could not believe he had something that they couldn't tell him. We don't know what caused it. We have no idea how to really deal with it, other than these two things: dialysis or transplant.
Yeah.
And during that time, he said, "All right, we got to do something about this," and that's how we started UKRO. We sort of put together a board of directors. It was my dad and his doctor, Dr. Vito Campisi. Yeah, and Vito is kind of a legendary guy.
Yes.
He ran the nephrology department at the time, and now his name, along with UKRO, is on the Kidney Research Center at USC. So we just started from nothing and built this thing. And my dad would roll phone calls while he was on dialysis, and people have rallied to the cause, and we were able to establish a research center at USC, and now we're focused on one project, which is called the Synthetic Kidney Project. And that is basically the idea of growing in a petri dish a stem cell kidney, a kidney from stem cells, which can be transplanted into a patient, grow inside the patient, and replace the need for dialysis.
This is, when you told me about this, I don't know the emotion that went through my head, but you may have heard me say earlier, and I said it to you in our initial phone calls, I love to find something else to do. I kind of made my life out of dialysis, growing up with somebody that was on dialysis and entering into the profession. It's such a torturous journey for so many people. And you know, granted, everybody's story is different, but it seems to be that the prevailing theme is that it is a hard pill to swallow.
For most people it is, and then, you know, sadly, many people don't know what goes on in the dialysis center. I mean, if you don't really, the thing about kidney disease is that if you don't have it, or you don't know somebody who has it, then you really have no clue what it is, or what it does to your life.
I feel like I've been in this for 25 years, and you know, I think you started the podcast about a year ago.
Yeah.
Dr. Kazi and I sat on it, but in the last year and a half, I've learned so much from that end of, again, I'm not trying to say that I understand, but just that I really don't know.
No, I don't think unless you're there, and that's why I say he really surprised me with how tough he was, because he did not think about himself very much, and he would sit there in the center, and the machines are going off, and his blood is circulating behind him through a machine, and he's answering phone calls and talking to his clients.
That's crazy.
And other people are huddled under blankets and all this stuff. And so, you know, you realize sometimes that the people who are close to you, who you don't think of as being tough, maybe are the toughest people of all.
That's great insight.
So you just don't know until you go through it what you as a human being or what somebody who you love is capable of.
Yeah. You know, I got to ask you, you mentioned how busy he was, and I've been teaching dialysis to technicians and nurses for about 25 years now. And I noticed a lot of people who end up with end-stage kidney disease, that they find themselves in a place where they're not as busy with the work type of thing. Do you feel like that was something that may have kind of kept him?
For sure, and then he doubled it, because then he decided we're going to do Utero as well. We're going to create this new thing. So not sitting there and just staring at the wall or cuddling under with a blanket was definitely, I think, he's just one of those people. There are people who need to work, who need to feel that they belong. And frankly, for me, doing this and having this become a part of my world, it is it's a selfish thing in a way, because it makes a person feel good to try to do something that can impact other people.
Yeah. You told me a little bit of a story, and I know we kind of both saw the episode, but a Star Trek episode.
It was actually a movie.
Movie, that's right. It was a movie.
It was one of the movies. It was the old crew with William Shatner and DeForest Kelley and Leonard Nimoy, and they're going back. It was I think the third or fourth one, and the idea was they went back in time for some reason, and it had to do with whales and San Francisco. The whole thing was, I can't remember the exact plot, but there is a scene in the movie, and it's 1984, and Dr. Bones is in the San Francisco hospital, and there's an older woman, and she's on a gurney, and he says, he kind of just straight up says, well, what's wrong with you? And she says, kidney dialysis, and he says, dialysis, barbaric. And he takes a pill and gives it to her, and then in the background of some scene, she jumps off the gurney and is running, and the doctors are all chasing her like, what's going on here? And that is literally what we're trying to do.
Yes, that is, again, Pauline, you took my breath away when we first talked about it. How far are we away from these sort of solutions, in your opinion?
This one, for us, I think 10 years is a fair ballpark. I think maybe we're going to be at 8 or 9 for human clinical trials, but there's a lot to go. You have to be able to produce a certain number of these cells that we have in our body naturally. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Lee, who is our project chief investigator, he's the man. It's going to win a Nobel Prize sometime.
That's awesome.
He's able to produce a certain amount of them, but not nearly enough. And he can make more of them than anybody else. And that's why he is really a miraculous guy. But it's going to take a while to step up the engineering. And my job, is to try to get the bread, to try to help him. Because the government doesn't, he's got an NIH grant, but it's not nearly enough. He's a young innovator, they call him, quote unquote. But a lot of that research stuff is, they're worried about it, there are cuts coming, and, this is tough stuff. And so, we gotta figure out how to help people like him, because this will save millions of dollars in dialysis. The number is staggering if you look it up, what the government spends on dialysis. And it'll make life so much easier for people, even if the initial one is only 25% of what your kidneys can do, dialysis is 15%.
And if that gets you to a GFR or something that can actually pull it off.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or there's a combined thing, and some people who are on dialysis have a small amount of their own kidney
That's
function.
right. Yeah.
So if you can get that percentage to where they don't need it anymore, and then over time, it gets better and better and better, and more personalized for you, for an individual, and 30 years, 25 years, it's gonna be incredible. And I think that's where we're all going. And you meet young people, because I think there's this misperception that kidney disease only strikes people who are like ancient.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw in the room tonight how many young folks
Yeah.
that, they're in better shape than me. But, a couple of them are still on dialysis.
Yeah, so this is the thing, if you're 35 or 45 or whatever, and there's something that in 10 years could make it so you don't have to do this anymore, and you can travel and have a normal life and all that stuff, that's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what our goal is.
I recently went through an insights activity in one of the organizations I work with. And one of the advices of the leader of that activity was everybody on this team should be getting up daily. Pull off your desk, take a walk, look into the horizon. And what I'm hearing from you is that this stem cell research, the kidney, the synthetic kidney.
Yeah, and it's by the way,
it's in the horizon.
Yeah, and it's synthetic not because it's like a plastic or aspartame, it's synthesis of cells.
Yeah.
So it's a little confusing, and I don't totally love that name, but
because it makes it sound like it came out of anywhere.
right, or
Yeah.
like it's something out of a plastic, fish tank or something like that.
Okay, man, I'm really happy that you made it tonight, and looking forward to hearing you share with the group. We've still got a small group here, so
Thank you.
appreciate you and look forward to more in the future, man.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Watching it live, really good.
Oh, you watched it on the YouTube one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on,
It'll
Jonathan,
probably be the
let's
same story, so.
It's just a practice, right?
go. Let's go, Jonathan.
All right.
Knock them both out.
But why not? Let's see.
Make sure I'm still good on the screen.
Synthetic kidney.
Yeah, still good.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's like, science fiction, really, to be honest.
But that's the future, though. Like we can't.
They're gonna be able to do it someday where we can do your stem cells.
Yeah.
But the truth is that that's not, they don't even think they need to do that. Because in the research that they've discovered, there's sort of a natural rejection thing that happens anyway when whether it's your specific kidney or any kidney
Yeah.
that goes into the body. So that is actually something we're working on engineering to get rid of those antigens and problem things while they're doing it in the dish.
Yes.
That's what they're working on. So it's pretty amazing stuff. And every time I go down there, I'm like, man,
Well, let's share it with the group too, because we still have quite a few people here, so I'll be right out this.
Anyway, anytime you want me to do it.
Thanks, buddy. Jonathan,
Hey, Michael.
you give me a mic up?
Yeah, let's go. Let's put some right here too. Why not?
Alright, so we're streaming from Musings and all the DBS stuff, and then also is this dialysis approved?
Yeah.
All right.
This is my general fun, just keep it simple. I don't want to take your spotlight. This is your event.
No, we don't have to pay. Again, Musings with Morales, dialysis education service that can never fade into darkness. Art show. Jonathan Diaz, one of our recent, but I would call him a longtime friends, brothers, podcast veteran now. You've been on several times.
Yeah.
Registered dietitian, dialysis professional, all around good guy. He's got a great channel, and we're streaming from there as well.
No, just basic. No, I don't know.
Well, if you haven't heard of Jonathan Diaz, dialysis approved on YouTube, and I think all your social handles are the same, right? Dialysis approved.
Dialysis approved. Yes. Yeah.
I met you a little over, probably about a year and a half ago, and I saw you doing a bunch of interesting dishes, but also kind of short, quirky type of videos, a little humor in it, then translated to English to Spanish. But stuff that I actually like to eat. Peruvian ceviche was the way I contacted you specifically about that, I think.
That was the dish that, yeah, made you just reach out to me.
And I was like, hey man, what? It made me really think about cultural sensitivity and kind of my experiences in dialysis where I've seen patients that are told, eat this, don't eat that, and it's like, well, what about this vegetable that's very specific to my culture? And then I've seen people go like, hey, don't eat it because I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I love that you kind of get into different sort of cultural diets that when we asked you if you come out and support the podcast, or sorry, support the art show, it didn't take but a second for you to respond. You said, I'm in. You spoke to a large group of people tonight about how to keep a healthy lifestyle through diet specifically for the times that we can prevent kidney illness. So let's start with, why did you agree so quickly to come out here and help out with this?
Yeah, it's more to do with awareness. Again, a lot of people don't know that they have any kind of kidney damage. And it's not just the ignorance, it's more just bringing awareness. That's what this art show is all about, bringing awareness. And the second you told me, hey, this is an art show, we're going to bring awareness to those who will attend, and the fundraiser is for a good cause. There's tons of people that are waiting for kidney transplants, right? So again, we're pushing for someone to be a registered donor. Just you don't know when your kidney will save someone else's life. And there's plenty of movies that emphasize that, right? I forgot the one with Will Smith. Is it 10 pounds or something? I forgot the name of the movie, but he is the main person that donates all of his organs. So it's a beautiful, beautiful movie. But again, going back to this, it's just, I said, yeah, because I work with dialysis patients and I see what they go through. A lot of them fight. They're all survivors. Yeah. They choose this form of lifestyle to live long. Yeah. Just to live long, to live with your grandchildren and family, whatever the reason may be, they choose this lifestyle, which is not easy. It is very difficult.
Yeah, firsthand observation of that. I grew up with somebody that was on dialysis. It was the reason I kind of, by circumstance, ended up in the field. But I feel at this point I'm super passionate about it. Probably a lot because of that initial exposure, but also, you see tonight the people we've met and how inspiring they are, and how they're a family, and they're willing to go to bat for each other. So I really appreciate you coming out for that as well, Jonathan. What do you think we're going to get out of tonight? You mentioned registering as a donor, and like I in front of the group said earlier, my hope after tonight is those that are thinking about leaving donation would start to take one step at a time and see whether it's a route that they can go, a journey they can go through. But two, that everybody in this room would have that sticker on their driver's license as of the next renewal, or however long it takes to get designated as a donor. It's a simple opt-in that could help hundreds of lives, right? So what's your hope from tonight? Because you spoke a lot about prevention. What's your hope from tonight?
Definitely the donor, but then also just getting more involved, bringing more awareness. So my question for when I gave my speech was, one of my tips was, ask your family member and a friend, what's your kidney function? Basic question, and they'll tell you, oh, it's good, but that's not good enough. What's the kidney function number? When they know the number, that has to make some impact.
Yeah.
Are you 30%? Are you 40% done? So we usually say, you're fine. And again, it's not entirely their fault. They probably have a sense of what, okay, I have to see this patient, I gotta go. Next patient. Right. It's also up to us and our community to have them ask those questions to the doctor. What does this number mean? What is the kidney function? What does the number actually stand for?
Yeah.
Right. And then for myself, I've been asked, am I the donor? No, I haven't. So, and my fiance asked me, hey, why don't you? And I said, well, I guess out of fear, my own reasons, but I work with enough patients, and seeing tonight, what I saw tonight was beautiful. So yes, I am going to be one to register myself to donor.
All right, so we have one victory tonight.
Yeah, right? That's right.
A new registered donor. We really appreciate that, man. What were some of the surprises tonight?
beautiful, just like compassionate patients who are transplanted, right? They're living a second life, and they're not just enjoying life with the kidney transplant, but they're transforming our community by inspiring others. Hey, this is happening. They're not being ashamed. Because I can understand that some people feel ashamed, like, oh, I can't believe I made it far. They told me I'm gonna end up here I am, right?
Yeah.
But here they are, preaching, trying to avoid or trying to prevent from kidney disease getting worse, right? So let's slow down the progression of more kidney damage.
Yeah.
So the speeches were beautiful, and I can't wait to see more speakers today.
We got a couple great groups coming up, Jonathan. And for all of those of you who are watching or will watch these repurposed videos, I think our next speaker is Amy Hewitt from the National Kidney Foundation. And the art show tonight is actually attached to not-for-profits, one the NKF, and then just prior to you coming up here with me, a guy named Louis Kleinberg, that is the president of the UKRO, the University Kidney Research Organization. So I do strongly recommend that everybody who is watching go to our website for the RSVP for this, or just look up National Kidney Foundation and the UKRO, the University Kidney Research Organization, to find out how you might be able to make small contributions, large contributions, volunteer contributions, supporting events like these, to share stories, hear stories, and then go out and share them. But definitely two great causes to go for. Let's think about the art, man.
Oh, beautiful. And besides the art, it's Justin, right? All his self-portraits.
Yeah.
His way of showing his vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know, that's him to have pictures of himself getting his own house home.
Yeah.
That's a sense of vulnerability. He's
Yeah.
willing to share it with all of us here, and that's beautiful. So.
Justin messaged me several times before this. I'm so nervous for people to see me with my shirt off, but they're really beautiful pictures. I mean,
Yes.
they show struggle, they show vulnerability, but there's also a great sense of art behind them as well. So glad you enjoyed, glad you came out, Jonathan. You're always a great supporter of education and improving community health. So look forward to many more days of being here.
Looking forward to working many more days and years with you. You know that.
Thanks, man.
Of course. So this is really great. A good amount of people are out there.
Yeah.